Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on one of the podcast platforms, hi everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Moved by Stories podcast, hosted by none other than Nomta or Ilo, whatever feels comfortable for you. So as you can see by the title, today is a very intimate time for me because I've actually never shared this story. I've literally shared it with only one person, like in the entire world. Only one person knows about this. And she's probably feeling special now. So in my journey, I get how weird it is. It's like you're saying you've never told anyone and you're just like telling everyone right now. And I was not sure about the posture of my heart in order to share it with someone else. Like, I needed to be sure that I'm not feeling like, oh, I'm an overachiever before I shared it with someone else. And I was not sure how I was going to deliver the message. So it was better that I didn't say anything. But then that's just me. So anyways, guys, like we said, this is a podcast where we are sharing stories to motivate each other, to inspire each other, and to grow each other. So this is my personal story, and I'm taking it out of my comfort zone and giving it to you guys. So beginning of the year, usually I do like a crossover with my family, like prayer till the next year. This time around, I didn't do that because I had come back from uni and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think I did, but I just felt like I wanted to do more, right? And I felt like just like this year, beginning of this year, my fasting habits, my prayer life was just like going downhill. And I had a routine, don't get me wrong. I had like a whole morning routine type of vibe. I had accountability, but I think it was just like there was something missing. You can tell when you're ready for like a next step type of vibe, and it's not there yet, So in that moment, that's the funny thing as well. Like, that's when I knew God was being intentional, because I never just randomly click on those videos that are like, oh, fasting, blah, 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 blah. And for the first time in my entire life, I clicked on this video. So usually, like, we do a fast at the start of the year as a family. And I didn't get that opportunity because obviously I had to travel. I was back home. I was like, I was just like settling down, and I was thinking, okay, when am I doing this? Am I doing this? Is this still an option for me? And I remember just sat in my room thinking, I wanted to do like an all night type of vibe. And I was thinking, ooh, type of vibe. What am I saying? I want to be as clear as possible so that you guys get the story. So follow with me, right? So this is New Year, and I'm watching this video on YouTube that I never watch. It was this girl, and she was talking about her 21-day fast, and she was just saying for her, she did a water fast. And for me, I have never done like a water fast before. I have never had to, not eat anything at all. I've had supplements, and I think because we started fasting as kids, in order for it to be bearable for us, we were allowed like tiny things like sweets or like anything that doesn't fulfill you. You can have it. Like you can have tea, for example. You can have a bit of a sweet here and there, a chocolate. You can do that. And obviously it made it easier because in God's eyes, we knew that he could tell that these kids are sacrificing everything else. And but I think that conscious thought of saying I have a sweet was kind of keeping me in a comfort of thinking, oh, if I'm fasting, I can just buy a whole pack of sweets, But obviously I used to regulate that and kind of like respect myself, obviously, but I'd have tea maybe. And so this time around was like, this girl is saying her testimony, and she's like, oh, I locked myself away from the world. I was just like on my own, and I was in my room or something like that. I think she was in her room, yes. And she was just talking about her experience, right? And she said, oh, I lost weight as well in the process. I drank lots of water. I think it's healthy as well. And all of the good things that happened to her. And like she was saying, if you're in a season where you want to hear God's voice clearer, if you fast, it will become so clear. You will know. And I was just like, wow, and I felt so inspired. So at that moment, like I just felt it in my spirit that you have to do this for yourself, and I was thinking, no, are you just like gonna stand up and start doing something because someone just shared her story? Like in my head I was even wondering, why was I watching it, but I felt strongly moved by her story. Like she didn't say something dramatic or whatever, but in that season I was thirsty to hear God. I was so tired of hearing people just say, God said, God said. And I was like, what do you mean God said? How dare you, like, how dare you say your thoughts are God's? Like, what are you saying? But then, and I was being intentional with my Bible reading as well, don't get me wrong. But I think there was something missing. Like, I know there was something missing. So what I then did, guys, was I took time off. I literally, after the video, I took time and I wrote down my days. I was like, okay, next week I'm going for a business trip, so I'm not going to be able to start then because I'll obviously have to go for the dinner, have to do, the team stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to do it then. I need to do it at a time that's convenient, that gives me space to talk to God, to be intentional with my fasting, because I was so tired of just like saying, oh, you're fasting, and then you go to work the whole day, you come back, you eat. And I was like, I don't want it to be like that. I want to be able to, be working from home. I want to be intentional about this. So I took down time and I immediately wrote down my list of prayer points. And I was like, okay, from the 26th of January to the 14th to the 13th of February, we have these names. I know this because I actually have the paper. It's right there, but I just can't be bothered to grab it. Okay, let me do it. So you guys can see, like, it was like 21 days. I was so excited as well. And so this list for me was like a list that would help me to kind of achieve these goals with a more purpose-driven, like, reality of saying, yeah, I'm doing this, I need to do this. And so I wrote down everything. Obviously, the first point for me was the presence of God. The second one was the fear of God. And I think more than anything, I thought I wanted his presence to be around my area where I'm talking to him and he's actually hearing me. And I wanted that atmosphere of like his presence, because it would have all been in vain if he wasn't, attentive, or if he wasn't there with me. And that was for my day one. And second day, the fear of God, forgiveness, and thanksgiving. Like, as they go, I'll just tell you guys the top 5 ones. So I said the fear of God. The first one was the presence of God, the fear of God, forgiveness and thanksgiving, obedience and understanding. Character development was my 5th one. And I think on character development, like when you reflect and you're like, actually, I don't like this about myself. One of the things I wanted to change was my communication skills. And obviously, I'm not fully there yet, but now I try to respond within the same week. So I think those things like were so crucial for me, and I really had to sit down and be intentional about that journey. And I was so excited. Like, obviously there's 21 of them, but it made me look forward to each day, like, because I had a list. So I'd literally be like, okay, today we're doing the presence of God. And I would watch sermons that would tell me how to invite the presence of God. I'd look for scriptures that were backing that up. I'd be intentional about that walk, and I was so excited about the whole journey because I was like, yay! I remember as well, because I planned this like 2 weeks ahead. And I was saying, actually, guys, I started on the 24th. I started on the 24th of January, and then I finished on the 13th. And I remember before that was like a week before, 2 weeks before, that's when I wrote all of this. And I was like, God, I actually am scared, because I could barely survive my normal fast, where I would like break my fast at 4 p.m. And I'd still be like looking at the time thinking it needs to be 4 p.m. right now. And I'd be drinking so much water and, trying to use sweets and stuff like that. And I was like, this is scaring me, because if I'm just planning to go for the first time in my entire life and just like, boom, get onto the 21 days. No food, nothing, with water. And I was like 6 to 6, which is not normal for me, because like I said, I usually do 4 p.m. So it was like 6 p.m. outside my comfort zone. 1, 2, I'm not eating sweets. I'm drinking water. I'm doing a whole water fast. But I felt so convinced that I had to do it. So I just prayed about it the week before. I was like, Lord, I love food. There's food in my house. I'm not currently like broke. So I need grace to like achieve this. And that was one of the things that I faced with the journey. Like, I had to intentionally pray beforehand, prep myself. And I'm not going to lie to you, I thought that the first days would be the hardest or whatever, but it was like empowered. Like, I think God was like, do it. And I really felt so strong the whole day. Day 2, I was like, this is unreal. How am I feeling okay? I've never done this before, but there's a verse in the Bible that says, for you've never been this way before. Like, I'll put it down. I forgot it, but it's like, you've never been this way before, so he'll guide you, something like that. And literally, I felt guided. I felt like God was backing me up, like I wasn't hungry. And I was so happy because each day I had something new to focus on. And trust me, guys, at the start, I genuinely thought I'd just do this. And like, I remember, I think it was day 2, I got like a conviction again to say, cut off social media. And I was like, okay, you mean TikTok? Because in my head, I'm like, okay, most people are addicted to TikTok. I'm fine. I can leave TikTok. It's fine. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it just said everything, like cut off Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. And for me, Snapchat is not a cut off, really. I don't use Snapchat. But my biggest one was YouTube, because I love YouTube so much. Obviously, I have a channel as well, but the conviction for YouTube was only watch Christian content on YouTube and Christian music. Guys, I was like, okay. And it's funny because during that season, like, it was just like obedient. Like, I just had to do it. And I was like, okay. So I started being intentional about that, like just listening to Christian music and, watching, because I sometimes, okay, yes, I do watch movies a lot. So so I had to intentionally, literally, oh my days, I kicked the camera stand and everything. But anyways, I had to be intentional about that journey. I had to actually be like, okay, let's cut you off. Let's intentionally watch a Christian movie each day. And I remember God was directing me as well, because I'd watch a movie and I found out it's a series. You know how sometimes they don't say episode 1, and I'm like, no, where's part 2? Where's part 3? And obviously I'll give a shout out to Damilola, Mike Bamiloye, because he's the plug for Christian movies. I think there's one coming out tomorrow and we will be there. So I got that conviction and I was watching them, and more for me, I watch Nigerian Christian films, and I think it's mainly because they are purely Christian. So you know how sometimes you can say Nollywood Christian films and it's like a mix of, it's like secular actors trying to act a Christian movie. No offense to them, but I think when you look for actual Christian channels, Nigerian films, they challenge you. I find that every time I watch, if I find a good one, I'm challenged spiritually. Like, I'm trying to be like, how did you guys think about this? What triggered you? Like, what? And I'm like, wow. And I'm always in awe, and I'm like, I need to improve my life. I remember the series that I recommended to you guys a time back, Avatar. That one was fire. Like, it just showed me that sometimes when we relax, you miss out so much. And it just made me be woke that you need to pray. You need to constantly be focused, because you have no idea what's against you, So each time I watch those movies, I'd be so filled with wisdom, thanks to God, and I'd literally be telling people, oh, this. And every day there was something new. And I think God helped me in like writing the list, because it made me intentional and it made me excited that, okay, today we're dealing with pride. Tomorrow we're dealing with, forgiveness. We're dealing with Thanksgiving. I remember there was a day where I was like worship only, like no verbal praying and asking God problems, whatever, just like spend time singing to him. That was one of the most, I think worship does something. It really changes your mood. It boosts you up and stuff like that. So yeah, I did that, and I was obviously filled up, and I was like, yay. And I knew it was in between as well. Like, it was showing that I was halfway. And I remember thinking, that girl said you lose weight. And I was so scared, guys. I was thinking, okay, I might lose weight in this journey. So I had to, I was calling home, and I did a video call. And literally, it was day 10. I will not forget this. I had read the book of Daniel, because so what I was doing was, if it was like a season where I'm like, I want to pray for excellence, I'd look for, I remember Daniel had an excellent spirit within him. So I'd read the book of Daniel on that day. And I remember it was a time where he said he would be fasting with his friends in prison when the other guys were eating, when they'd been captured. He was like, oh no, we're fasting. Can you not give us this, but give us vegetables instead? And the prison guard was like, okay, no, that's not possible. What do you mean? The king wants you guys to eat this. And Daniel was like, give us 10 days and come and check. And when he came to check and compare them with the other guys, Daniel's team were more healthier, fresher. They looked like they were the ones who were eating proper food. And I remember on the 10th day as well, I was talking to my sister, and my mom comes on the call and she's like, you've gained weight. And I'm thinking, what do you mean? I literally haven't been eating for 10 days. What are you saying? Like, huh? But I remember that verse as well, and it was just like so aligned. And anyways, so back to the moral of the story, God gave me the grace to do the fast. And obviously there were things that I had to deal with, like my friend normally comes and visits me, and we usually spend weekends together because we are all we've got. And so it was hard for me because I didn't want to disclose of what was going on, but at the same time I didn't want to make her feel bad. So like she'd be like, oh, are we baking this weekend, for example? And I'd be like, oh no. Or I'd had so many plans, but still I'd keep on just like brushing them off. And I think for a moment she actually thought, are we fighting? And I remember just telling her, like, just wait a bit. She couldn't even send me anything on TikTok because I was actually offline. But she got the offline thing. She was like, okay, maybe you're like offline. And she's thinking, okay, week 1, week 2, what's going on, girl? But it was really directed by God at that time. And I had to let go, and I was like comfortable with it. And I remember I've never been more happier. I'm not gonna lie. I was genuinely in a space where I felt covered, protected. I had struggles with just like control and stuff like that, but in terms of like growing closer to God, I'd be on a call with my friend and I'm just like, oh, this is the verse and this and that. And I remember someone saying to me, you're actually now more wise. And I was thinking, it's God. It's actually God who is speaking to me right now. And obviously I remember during the last weeks I was now praying like, God, I don't want to just stop. I think my advice obviously is find out who's best for you. I find like if I'm looking for spiritual growth, like I've said before, Joshua Salmon does a great job in doing that. And I think what I can say about my experience is that I never thought I'd be able to water fast for like consecutively 21 days. Like there would be events, there would be seas, there would be times where I had to go places, and literally I saw the favor of God in those seasons because I was literally like so close to him. He was the only one I was talking to, so it was so easy to be like, oh, hey God, I'm going here right now. Can this happen? But really so many things changed in my life in that short space of time. And I remember just feeling more confident when I was done with the fast. I was like, this is new life. God can actually change your life. And you don't have to just like fast right now, but it's so good to follow that leading. It's so good to actually do exactly how you're feeling. But that's episode 1. That was a bit intense for episode 1, but my encouragement from this story is that when you seek God, he comes to you. He says those that seek him diligently, will not labor. You don't labor in vain when you labor in God. And I think that's one thing that I keep in my mind, that you might be guilty of everything else, but that good thing that you do in God's eyes will not go unnoticed. And when you seek him and you seek out time in your busy life to say, you are still first in my life and I want to experience you. And I really loved my fast because obviously I've had a thought about saying, actually, I want to fast for certain things. I want certain things to happen in my life. I want to receive certain things, but I was more intentional about saying, I want your voice. I want to hear you speak. I want to know you more. And really, when you seek him, the word of God does say, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all that you need will be added to you. And I really think that it's so powerful to reflect on those things and kind of come back to a place of saying, I give you authority because I know it's yours. But with that being said, guys, hope this encouraged you. You can actually do anything if God is leading you. And there's so many people scared to take that step because you're thinking, well, if it's God, I'm just going to wait a bit more. And the word of God says, the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. Even if they stumble, they will not fall. And I want you to trust that in your life, to take that step. Joshua Solomon always says, God doesn't just give you full instructions. He'll tell you one step. And as you go, he keeps talking to you. As you take that step, he keeps talking to you. So that's the same. I didn't know that I'd have to fast my social medias, including YouTube. I literally was left with WhatsApp, and that's because I had to do Bible study with my accountable partners. And so if you don't have that, that nudge of saying, I will do it when the vision is complete. It's about moving closer so that you see clearer. So when God says do this, do it. When you know that it's not coming from your head, just do it. Like Nike. Everything is actually there for you, and it's like God won't force you to do something. God will give you the option. He will put it in front of you. He will present it to you, and it's up to you to take that step of faith and say, God, I believe this is you. There is no way I could have come up with this. And honestly, guys, thank you so much for your patience as well. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope that this touched you and challenged you. I literally don't know what to pick and point from that girl's message that made me, feel the same conviction. But I feel like sometimes God makes you listen to something because he's trying to lead you somewhere. And it might not make sense then until you're like, wow, I genuinely felt so refreshed after the 21 days. And even now I'm like consciously trying to add in tiny bits of habits here and there, because I believe that big growth starts with small progress. And hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. But with that being said, I hope this was correctly positioned in my mouth. It feels like it was underneath. Bye, guys.